Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Time to Startup, the WPI i3 Lab podcast. Today's guest has spent decades on both sides of startup table. As a founder, building a solid pharmaceutical company and then selling it. As an angel investor, writing checks into early stage ventures. He spent a few years running the venture forum here in Worcester, connecting Central Mass entrepreneurs with resources and helping them grow. And now he's the executive director of Auxilium, which is a brand new entrepreneurial hub, I'm going to say, that has opened in downtown Worcester. Zach Dutton, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ardian. Happy to be here.
Thank you. We're going to have a easy conversation, but I thought I'll open the first question with you with, so you've been a founder, you've been a CEO, then you're the co-founder of the Wire Group, I believe, too, right?
Yeah.
Which is an angel investment group here in Worcester, and now you're running Auxilium. So just to ease into our podcast, how do you describe yourself at the dinner party? Who is Zachary Dutton?
Well, when we get down to what do, I say that I work with startups and try and help them get going and get into a position where they can start to grow. So really focus more on the early stage of the startup life cycle. I mean, to be fair, I don't know much about running a big company. I've never really worked in one, so I'm more comfortable at the early stages.
Your sort of decent sized company that you founded was Prismic Pharmaceuticals. How did that come about? How does one wake up one morning and say, you know what, I'm going to start a pharmaceutical company?
Well, first, it wasn't just me. I had co-founders, and it didn't happen quickly. It happened probably over 8 or 9 months as we talked about it, worked on a business plan for what we wanted to do, lined up people who we thought could help. So we did a lot of the legwork that we thought needed to be done. I can say now there's probably some legwork we didn't do that would have been good to do at the time, but we did a lot of work to get ready to start the company. Mm-hmm. Pulled a plan together, and then we had our third co-founder join soon after we started.
That's good. And then, so you built that company you were there how many years?
We started at the tail end of 2011 and were acquired midway through 2019. We were never a big company. We were always small. We ended up having to change our strategy at one point. It was not one of these rocket ship success stories. It was a little bit more of a roller coaster ride.
But that's most businesses, right?
Yeah.
Everybody tells the rosy, beautiful sort of story, but I think most businesses are roller coaster rides, right?
There's bumps along the way.
Yeah. So mid 2019, you guys sell your business, you and your partners. How does it feel from an exit perspective? Because I know every time when we hear pitches in an angel group or when you're investing and there's the exit strategy and this and that, as a founder, somebody say, that's it, I'm going to pay you this much money for your company. What's that feeling? I don't have to go to work tomorrow? Or
Well, I didn't have to go to work the next day, but I did a few days later because part of the deal was staying with the acquiring company. Look, I mean, it feels really good. I mean, it felt great. It was funny. I think I mentioned to you I was I was in Maine. We have we have a small lake house there, and I was on my own when the deal closed, so we didn't have a big signing ceremony anywhere. So I was by myself, and got confirmation that it was all done, and it was like, yay. So I think what I did was I drove and had a beer at a brewery down the road.
That's a good way to celebrate that. After you sold, after a few, I don't know, months or a year or something, some founders that I've spoken in the past, sometimes they have this sort of, oh, what did I sell? That was my company. Did any of that happen to you, or you were just like, I sold the business, on to the next thing, I'm good?
So we sold to a company that had the resources to do the work that needed to be done, and they had more expertise. So I was very comfortable with it. I thought we landed in the right place.
That's good. Yeah, wonderful. All right, so we'll move on a little bit into a couple of more things from the other side of the equation that you've been doing for a while. So you co-founded the Wire Group in Worcester.
Yep.
Thanks for doing that. Sort of before Auxilium came around, that was sort of the main investment group in Worcester, somewhat organized.
Yeah, I think when it was Tim Lowe and I who started working together to explore setting up an angel group in Worcester, because there hadn't been one for a while that had been operating locally. So we took probably 6 months and talked to a whole bunch of people who we thought might be interested to gauge the interest and what we thought would work and move forward from there. So I don't actually remember what year it was, but we started
a few years now. Right?
Yeah, but we probably talked and planned and organized for probably 10 months and had our first meeting in November of that year. It might be 2022. And actually had an MBI, or not an MBI, a WPI company pitch.
The very first one?
Farm Blocks was the first company to pitch.
Yeah, and they're in California now, I think. Yeah,
they're killing it,
well.
And they're in California. Yeah. Good angel group. We invested in the first company that pitched to us.
Yeah, hey, thanks for investing in the WPI company, I guess, on behalf of WPI. So you go from being a founder to an angel group. Now you're on the other side of the table writing checks. How does that change? How are you looking at founders now from a different perspective? You're not on their side anymore.
Sure.
But you are, but sort of different.
Well, it's, when I first started angel investing, it was even before the Wire Group. I joined a group called River Valley Investors that Paul Silva ran. And this was during COVID, so everything was virtual. And of course, I think probably, well, I don't know what other angel investors experience, but you hear, interesting, exciting ideas. And it's like, wow, I want to invest in everything I see.
Right.
So it takes a little bit of time to sort of develop the right filter and learn from other people on how to evaluate, because I'd never done that before, the way that you need to as an investor. So it was, a learning experience to go through and do that. And then I think over time, you end up developing a little bit more of a critical eye as you look at the different companies that come through. And I think you also start to understand where do, your interests, like where do my interests as an investor lie? And where do I think I might be able to provide even a little bit of value? But at the beginning, it was like, everything's cool.
Right. Like amazing ideas, yeah. And then over time, you start developing a thesis of like, okay,
a little bit more of a thesis, a little bit more of a critical eye. Fortunately, River Valley, we were never writing big checks. We wrote individual checks. So, I wasn't writing, crazy big checks or anything, but it was a learning experience, and I think continues to be.
Yeah. So from that perspective, you get, especially early stage founders, and mainly if I say the first time founders, they think that they have this great idea and nobody has an idea like they had. And they have this impression that the investment community are betting on their idea. What are investors actually betting on?
More than anything, and I think this, they're betting on the entrepreneur themselves. Is this somebody who they think not just has the intelligence or the ability to take things forward, but also the tenacity, the understanding, and really the willingness to learn. Mm-hmm. Because, as we said before, there's, ups and downs all along the way, and you learn things as you're trying to build a company and as you build it. And sometimes it requires change. And if somebody is so fixated on their idea that they're not willing to change, mm-hmm. that's a tough sign, because it means they might not be open to adapting as the circumstances require.
As they get more information from the market and understanding that they have to pivot their idea, and if they're not willing,
I love it this way, and that's how it is.
Everybody else is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so they talk about coachability as, mm-hmm. One of the big terms you'll hear is the founder coachable. Are they willing to learn? Mm-hmm. And really, are they willing to listen and respond to the market and adapt as necessary? And when you look today with AI and everything, things can move so quickly. If you're not nimble and you're not willing to adjust, mm-hmm. it can get easy to get left behind, depending on the industry and everything.
Right, and what you're building on, sure. Yeah, no, that's a good note for first-time investors. Just like with everything else in life, if you don't have an open mindset and if you don't want to be coachable, it's not going to look very pretty.
Yeah, and I would say to first-time founders, you want to surround yourself with some key people who can provide some of that guidance and advice. And you don't have to listen to all the advice you get, or you don't have to take it, but you want to listen to it, and to learn from it, because sometimes there are people that have experience doing what you're doing, and learning from them is important.
Yeah, absolutely. So fast forward, you're sort of in Worcester. You don't need an introduction. Everybody knows you in the investment community. You did all the work with the Venture Forum. It's true. I'm not trying to praise you. So
it's because I did the work with the Venture Forum and why I was interested in being part of it, because when I was with Prismic, I didn't have a lot of connections in the local community. So I was interested in getting involved locally, mm-hmm. after that.
Yeah. And now you're at Auxilium. So what is Auxilium? I know, for our audience, if people haven't heard this, I know you guys are sort of well known in town, but what is Auxilium? Why is Auxilium built? And what are you guys trying to achieve?
Sure. So Auxilium is really, it's a place for founders. I think the important thing to understand is that we are privately backed by Rucker Investments, which is the family office of Cliff Rucker. Locally in Worcester, he is the owner of the Worcester Railers. He himself is, I don't think he uses the term entrepreneur, but he's a very successful operator and business builder. And he thinks that Worcester has the potential to be an innovation hub, and he's interested in supporting that. So at Auxilium, we run a couple of programs, an accelerator program for companies that have some traction and are moving forward. We ran our first one last summer. It was 3 months. It comes with $250,000 investment in the company, and mentorship, workshops, with a goal of helping these companies be in a position where they can start to grow quickly. We also run an innovation studio, which is for companies that are at the early stage, so past ideation, but still really validating their business model. And that program comes with $100,000 in milestone-based funding. And the goal with the innovation studio is to have companies come out of it that are investable, not just by us, but by other angel groups, or if they're far enough along, even by a venture group. So we work with them to put the blocks in place, and as they validate their idea and their business, we invest further up to $100,000.
So the difference between these two programs, the innovation studio, which is sort of the early stage one, you could be a solo founder, you're trying to build your team, you haven't gone too much further yet, the idea is solid, but you haven't built your tech stack or whatever you're building on. You take people from that stage.
We take people at that stage, and we start all of them with a customer discovery sprint.
Okay.
So 6 weeks, we really want to see validation that the problem you're addressing is real, and that it's a real pain point, and that there are customers out there that are not only have that pain point, but are willing to pay something to fix and correct that pain point. We see that as the first essential step in validating an idea. And so we run workshops designed around that. You actually ran one of them for us, to help these founders understand how to do this, to go out and find and interview potential customers, not just to say, hey, I'm making this, would you buy it, but to really understand who they are, what they look like, so as they start to develop their go-to-market strategy and all of those things, they know who their target market is. And they know that they have, once they're through their target market, where do we grow from there?
Right.
So we ask them to think of this as, how does this help you become a $100 million company? To look at this through that lens.
So for any students watching, I know I've talked about customer discovery on all of these episodes. Now you've heard it from the investment community. That's powerful and needed. You can't just have it in your head, or as I joke around, your mom told you you're wonderful, therefore you are. You have to go out and validate this.
Yeah. We need something other than your friends and your mom saying that it's a cool idea. And I would say to potential founders out there, you want to do this because you're going to put your time and your effort into this. And the sooner you can validate, or I don't know, is it disvalidate or disprove your hypothesis, the better. Because if your idea doesn't have legs, you want to figure that out.
Right. Or oftentimes you find out that it's sort of not what you started with, but there's something adjacent to that that's the pain point, and it's not too hard for you to move into that.
Absolutely.
Arena.
I mean, it might be a piece of technology that you envision for one market that's actually applicable to another market. And you find that out by going out and learning from potential customers and understanding where they see needs and where their problems are.
Yeah. And now the accelerator. So to simplify, are you looking for for startups that already have a team and have built an MVP, have a few customers or a few users, depending on where does that fit?
So, and the fun thing about this is we ran one cohort. The second one we're running which will be this summer, is a life science focused one, partnering with MBI, Mass Biomedical Initiatives. But we are looking for companies that have done some of this early work. They've identified a need, they've validated that it exists. It can be a solo founder, but it's somebody who ideally is looking to bring people on soon, and understands the importance of that, and the fact that you can't do it all yourself as much as you might like to or want to.
Or you think so.
Yeah. So we want to see some level of proof and traction that the idea or the opportunity is real, and that they have a vision of what the path forward is. So over the summer, we really tried to focus on some internal aspects of the company. So everything from HR, leadership, them understanding themselves and their skills, some of the governance issues, what it takes to build a board of directors. We looked at those things. We focused externally with sales, marketing, public relations, and then I think with all accelerator programs, to some degree, we focused on getting ready to raise more capital. But we tried to go deeper than just, this is a great pitch deck that you've developed. Right. Instead, it's understanding the expectations of, and the difference between angel investors and venture capital, how they work, trying to give some idea of what your expectations should be in working with them, and what's reasonable follow-up. I mean, it's all a little bit subjective and depends, but trying, I think as a founder, it's hard sometimes to know, am I bugging somebody? Is this going to get in the way? Right. Or is this a reasonable...
Am I sounding too desperate? Do I wait another week? It's the dance around it. And so you mentioned life science and the new accelerator program that you're starting with MBI, which is wonderful. Does that mean that Auxilium only takes life science companies in their accelerator, or not?
For this cohort, we are focused on life science companies. So it doesn't mean that they have to be developing the next greatest therapeutic drug. It can be the whole area surrounding life science, from digital health, medical devices. There's a lot of AI working in healthcare. So anything in that broad sphere is where we're focused. And the benefit of working with a group like MBI is we're able to access some of the experts that they have in their network to serve as mentors and workshop leaders. And we think the mentoring component of what we do is as critical as anything. So we want to be able to have great mentors who can work with the founders in the accelerator program.
That's one. And once you're done with this, then do you go back on expanding your reach per se to other areas? What other focus areas are within Auxilium's domain that you would like to see more of to apply to your accelerator? Is it more life science, other deep tech, or as long as it's a good fit?
I don't think that life sciences is going to be our only area of focus. As you've seen, on April 1st, we announced the FlexCon lab at Auxilium, which is something we're really excited about. FlexCon, which is part of the 44 Maple Group, is based in Spencer, Massachusetts. It's a private-run family business, third generation, a substantial company. And we're setting up a lab right next to Auxilium at 311 Main Street. So this is a material science lab with wet and dry lab space. I don't know much about the equipment, except that my understanding is a lot of it you won't be able to find anywhere beyond some university campuses. What's exciting about it is the tech solution group, which is part of 44 Maple Group, is actually going to be housed there. So they're going to be running their day-to-day business out of the annex at 311 Main Street, so right next door to us. And we're going to collaborate on an accelerator program and working with startups.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's really good.
It's really exciting.
They were here during the startup week at WPI in collaboration with Auxilium, showcasing some of their technologies. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really exciting time. I think what we'll have is equipment, and I'm no expert on this, but my understanding is it's equipment that you'll see at some universities, but not standard, easy to find equipment. And I think the critical thing is people when we run an accelerator program, and even people who come to Auxilium outside of that will get access to the expertise that their team has. And it's really on showing manufacturing viability and proof of concept. Mm-hmm. So the ability to take something that maybe they've made in a lab on campus or at home in their basement, and to show that it's ready for manufacturing, which is a critical thing for startups.
That's a really good add-on in Worcester, especially.
And what's exciting about these two programs, the MBI and the FlexCon one, is both of these areas, life sciences and advanced manufacturing and material science, are things that make sense for Worcester. Mm-hmm. So we're really supporting what we think are our areas of strengths already, and trying to leverage those.
So keeping it in-house,
and we don't need to. We can take advantage of the resources that we have here.
Yeah. So let me ask you. So you mentioned the life sciences, the manufacturing, and with all the changes in AI, and who knows what happens next week or next month, does that mean that Auxilium is shying away from software startups, or not really, or is it depends, or where are you guys landing in this whole arena of like SaaS and that world?
Well, we have 6 companies in our innovation studio now, and they're all software companies.
Okay.
So they all have some degree of SaaS associated with them. I don't think we're shying away from it, but there's so many areas where people can go. Mm-hmm. Our focus with the life science and then the manufacturing material science accelerators is those are areas where we think ourselves, and in partnership with the different organizations, we can add a lot of value. Mm-hmm. Now, if there's one of the companies is a software company working in advanced manufacturing, working in the life science space, great. If it's an AI company working in that area, that's great as well. So we're not shying away from it, but we're probably not leaning into it to the same degree that you'd see in some areas. Mm-hmm. Like I know there's a number of places like C10 Labs that is very focused on
software
and specifically AI.
Right. Yeah.
And they're doing a great job.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. It's like like you say, most accelerators, they sort of have their main core focus areas, and and eventually maybe in a third or fourth announcement at some point, we'll do a collaboration with WPI. Who knows?
We would love to.
Yeah,
we would love to. We think it's.
We'll see.
WPI is one of the crown jewels here in Worcester. So, love working with WPI.
Thank you for that, and for our audience, Zach has been a friend of WPI for a long time. He's come to a lot of our judging a lot of our events and our panels, and also Auxilium has sponsored some of our demo days, actually 2 of our demo days to be precise, the first and the second one. So we thank you for that. And also one of our alums is in your innovation studio. So we have one alum company that's part of your innovation studio.
Yep. College ROI.
Yeah.
Nick Gronda.
Yeah.
He's doing great. He is.
He's a hustler.
He is. I would say he is very focused on success. And and importantly, he's really willing to learn.
That's good.
And he puts in the work.
Yeah, he actually went through our first cohort of our summer accelerator program and our first demo day. He won second place on our demo day, so that's a good continuation. It's a happy thing
we're
for
excited
us
to have him in the program.
So I'm gonna move into what I call the rapid fire.
Oh, okay.
I don't have too many, but like a few questions. So, and it's more for, so founders can understand from an investor's point of view. Idea or team? If you had to pick one, which one?
Probably team.
All day long?
Yeah, most of the day long, unless the idea is just so cool you don't know what to do. But
okay.
But yeah, you know, an idea takes a team to execute.
So build a team, and I put this in because I get especially students that are trying to do work on something, and you got a bunch of them that they're like, I can do all this by myself. And I'm like, no, it's not gonna happen.
No, so, it's it's time is important. You want to move quick, and you want to tap into other people's expertise.
Yeah,
I'd say understand what you're good at.
Yeah. So what's a red flag in a pitch that most investors know and they talk about it, but they don't say out loud?
Red flag in a pitch. It's probably looking at the market, the TAM, and it's so big. Of course, all we need to do is grab 2%, and then we're off and running. That's true if you get the 2%, but it's how do you get to 2%? How are you going to do that?
Mm-hmm.
So overconfidence sometimes is, this is so cool, everyone's going to love it.
And not backed up by any substance.
Yeah.
Like, this is how it's our go-to-market strategy. These are the 5 things that we're doing, and we think.
Yeah, and everyone's
we'll get there.
Yeah, everyone's just going to sign on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, be confident, but back it up by numbers.
Try building from the ground up when you look at the numbers. Don't start, 100 billion, and then 10 billion in the U.S. and then around us it's $1 billion, so we get 2%, and we're at whatever that number is.
We're at 200 million or whatever it is. Yeah. In whatever 16 months or or $2 billion company. Yeah. What is one piece of advice that you got as a founder and now you pass it on all the time?
Well, I would say it's maybe advice that I didn't get, but it is do the early homework, do the early customer discovery. It's so important to understand the market that you're going after and your prospective customers, because they're the ones that are going to dictate whether or not you succeed or fail. So the more you can understand them, the more you can talk about who your customer is. They're 5'10", dark hair, whatever it is. The more detailed, the more granular you can get on that, the better you will be.
Yeah,
certainly at the beginning.
Yeah, and so we're at WPI. Worcester is full of colleges. which means there's a lot of young people with plenty of energy, a lot of hope and dreams.
Yep.
At what stage do you suggest that they bother Auxilium when they're trying to build something?
Sure. So, our innovation studio is our early stage program, but one of the requirements is that people be working full time on it. So as a student, it's probably not the right time to be joining, but we do make some of our workshops available. We have what we call the Build Smart series, where we look at things like governance and building a team, things like that we think are applicable to entrepreneurs at any stage. I would say, always happy to talk to somebody, but from joining a program, it would probably be post-graduation. Once you're at the stage where you're committed enough to say, this is what I want to do.
So let's take WPI, for example, and some of the stuff that we do at the i3 lab. So as we're putting the students through our programs and through the mill to get them ready and more ready for investment and ready with their ideas and their products, as they're graduating, that last 6 months before graduation, they should start making plans on how to have open discussions.
And it's, yes, I mean,
and to see what the next steps could be.
Right. I think if you're at the point where you decide this is something I want to do, you and your co-founders, however you're doing this, then you want to start thinking about that. And I would say Auxilium is something to look at. I'd like to say we're the only program out there, but there's a lot of different programs that are available depending on what somebody is doing. And I would look for some of those, and it depends on funding needs, but I would definitely plan for how you're going to grow this company. And if you're going to try and just bootstrap it, that's fine, but you just need to understand what that's going to take and where you're going to do it.
That's good. So just before you graduate, before you buy your gown or whatever you do to party, get ready to prepare for the next steps. What's your last message to WPI students, startup founders in universities, being students, faculty, whatever they are, but in a university settings? What's your message to them?
If this is something that you're interested in, you want to explore, you think you might want to do it down the line at some point in your career, I would say, take advantage of what's offered here on campus. Talking with Ardian, getting involved in some of what i3 does, what the i3 lab does. Attend some of the events that happen. I know that are happening. I know Wu-Tank is happening in a couple of weeks. But just get involved, and so much of this also comes down to developing a network of people. But take advantage of the opportunities that are here to do this. I know, there's a lot going on at the i3 labs. I've seen a number of the companies that have come through and heard them pitch. I've heard faculty pitch. I mean, there's a lot of interesting ideas here. So I would just say, take advantage of where you are as a first step.
And how do people find Auxilium?
Well, we have one of those websites, and it's auxiliumworcester.com. All of our information is there, and you can also reach out to Ardian, and he can give you my contact information.
Zachary Dutton, thank you for being in our podcast.
Thank you very much for having me, Ardian. Appreciate it. Good luck, everybody.